Hello friends, this is Xlil Casper and you're watching Kerbal Space Program live stream number 3. I did a little work between last episode and this episode. What we did, I tried to rebuild our smelter plant so it had wheels on it and was able to drive around a little bit better. I added landing gears thinking that that might help the issue when we load the world that it tries to drive off. Well, after some testing, that did not work very well when we started to load up ore. The landing gears basically just snapped right off. So I'm going to try to do something, I guess, a little different this time. I don't think the wheels are going to work very well. We may try to put some truck wheels. Those seem to work well, but I don't think we're going to put a base on it that we can actually drive. I think we're going to try and make it so that we can hook up to it and tow it into place. And again, I don't know if we're going to try to do some different landing gear. I'm trying to find some that are strong enough to stay working with the or once it gets loaded in. And I don't know if we'll be able to use the landing gear as actual landing gear or if we'll have to use something using Infernal Robotics, an arm, and some struts or something to secure it into place. I think we're going to try and just not make our mobile base or our ore base mobile. I think we're going to try to just make a stationary one that we can kind of drag into place when we need to move it. It's just not working very well with the modules. It was a good idea, but with that the bug with the rovers where their brakes are off to start with, it's just causing too much havoc with that and the Kerbal attachment system. Now, I was going to design something and then just show you guys launching it and attaching it up there. But I thought you guys might like to see the design process and see my thoughts as we go through. So I think this episode is going to be mostly design, and next episode we'll actually work on launching it. Now, I have not sat down and thought this through yet because I wanted to show you guys the actual process from start to finish. All I know is I want to try and get something that is small enough that we can launch. I want it to be able to hold a lot of the components so we don't have to land things near together. So I'm going to try to be combining a couple pieces, such as perhaps we'll combine the rocket part maker along with the drill, or maybe we'll have our drill attached to our smelter and all of the storage on the smelter, and we can land that in one spot. And not have too many modules, and try to get it all into one. The problem is going to be keeping it small enough that we can launch and not taking up all that room. So I think we're going to start with the smelter as the base. Let's see, Cathane. Yeah, oh no, exoplanetary. Um, yeah. So I think we're gonna start with a smelter as a base. This seems like a good platform. I like it because it's square. Well, it's hexagonal, but the sides are flat, and I think that's gonna help us out. The drawback is if you put it this way, it makes it really hard to land and take care of, or to attach the rockets to the end. And if we put it this way, we have to worry about tipping it over and it surviving the landing that way. We may build some kind of cage around this for docking. Let's do that. Let's put it this way. We'll build a cage so we have a point. See, our issue is we have no point down here. Now, I could just... Actually, I think I know how we can solve this. We can put on a docking clamp at the bottom, or a decoupler at the bottom. And if you remember, we're running the extended editor. so we can change things from where they dock to a node to radial. So what we can do, we take this stack decoupler. I'm not sure what size we're going to need. That'll seem about right size. And if we zoom right in, now if we look, we normally can't attach this to the bottom here. It won't attach. But with the extra editor, when we hit Alt R, we can now attach this right to the bottom. So we're going to make sure our arrows are pointing up. That makes sure that when we detach whatever we're going to put on the bottom here, that the decoupler stays with the bottom portion, and that will give us a flat base for landing. So if we do that right there, we need to go down a bit more, trying to get it about center. This will make it a lot easier when we go to launch if our weight and everything is center. And that seems pretty good right there. All right. I have not tried attaching these decouplers like this, so I think we're going to test something. Let's just grab something to throw on the bottom here. That'll work. And we'll see how this detaches and make sure that it does actually let go. So let's hit launch. Oh, because it's not manned. All right, so let's throw a probe top on just for testing. Launch. Now what I'm going to try to do is not put anything on this top node. This will let us save what we build with the sub-assembly module and load it in. So then we can load our lander, load this in, snap it, and then snap the rocket to the bottom of it. We just want to make sure that this is actually going to detach here. So now that we have, if I do decouple, I should throw, well, we have no way to tell if it's actually detached or not. So we'll have to throw a couple more things on here just for testing. Let's pop back into our vehicle assembly building. We are going to throw on a little bit of fuel and a thruster and go from there. Do I want to do RCS? Let's just throw one of these tanks on. We don't want snap there. And we'll throw on the oxidizer as well. You need both oxidizer and liquid fuel to run most engines. So we'll just need a tiny engine in here. Something small like this here. And we're just going to throw this on like that. Perfect. So now if we go launch, we should be able to run this thruster and see if this top piece does actually slide off. I'm just concerned the game won't be able to handle decoupling right here. And this is what Kerbal Space Program is all about, is testing things, have an idea, test it out. So what we're going to do is decouple and then activate engine. Huh. Well, something didn't work there. Might be that our engine isn't strong enough, so we'll throw a little bit stronger engine on here to test, and we'll give this some actual real fuel. I thought we could do just a quick small test, but let's throw a decent sized tank on here. So let's filter by type by fuel liquid. Alright, look at all the options we got. This tank right here should hold enough. We can throw it right on top here. Perfect. That's going to hold what? Oh, no, it's not going to hold a whole lot of extra oil. There's the one I was looking for. We'll throw the sucker on. Nice big one there. And then type. It's surprised it doesn't have a engine as an option for a type. Orbital Bertha, and we will snap this thing right on over here. Boom. And now when we launch, that should give us enough thrust to push this thing off if we're able to. So we're just waiting for the physics to kick on. There they are. Decouple. Activate engine. You know what helps? Throttle. I bet you that was our issue before. We didn't have any throttle. So, let's try this again. It looked like it was separated, but at the same time it kind of pulled it with it. And I'm not sure if that's because of... see, we're not losing anything over here. Let's... yeah, see, it's not decoupling like it should. Alright, well, so that did not work how we expected. It worked kind of how we feared. See, we want something that can easily just pop off the bottom here and leave our bottom nice and flat. So we may need to build the cage with a decoupler up here. I wonder if we can build it on the underside coming out. So, let's see here. Let's look at the type of decouplers we have and see if anything jumps out at us as being able to work well. Huh. Well, I'm not seeing anything jumping out at me. We do have the ones we use for engines. But we could do... I think we got some fairings we could do. But then we pretty much have to enclose the whole thing in the fairings. Well, well, well. Shoot. I think the only way we're going to be able to do it is do the cage. And the reason I don't want to attach at this top, subassembly requires that you have a free attachment space on your parent node. So I want to leave that top portion open so that we have that as the free space. And this is something to take into consideration when you're doing your designs. So I think what we're going to have to do is maybe put a decoupler here on the side and build a cage that comes down and around. I'm a little concerned about how structurally sound that's going to be. I'm afraid it's going to break off during launch because we can't attach it on both sides and come down. Pieces can really only attach to one parent. So, is there anything structurally? Well, anything we stick on the bottom again is going to throw off our landing. I'd like to lay this flat right on the the Earth. Um, Unless we build some legs. I mean, we could do our own landing gear with Infernal Robotics. Um, attach a couple of these arms and like so. Put on both front and back. Make sure this is putting it on right. See if we snap one there. Yeah, we'll have to put them on individually. Um, but if we put on an arm like this, and then just, I'm thinking, attach some girders to it, like so. Can we get this to... No, it does not want to rotate and match. There we go. So if we put on something like that, and this could actually then be our landing legs. Um, I'm not really opposed to that idea, but I don't really like it either. It just seems kind of not a very good way to do it. Like I say, I really wish we had some good landing legs that could just support a ton of weight. Let's look at our landing gear again. So these are the ones I tried before. And I'm kind of basing it off of impact tolerance. I think these would be better, but I just don't know if they're going to be enough to support it. Um, and those are the ones that have the highest impact tolerance that I've seen. Um, and I'm not sure, what if we... I'm not sure if it's actually smart enough to handle, if we put multiple, we'll actually spread the weight out over the legs instead of the legs breaking off. So if we did something like this, one more here on the end, and I'm going to go through and line these up a little bit better. So here's what I do when I try to line things up. I try to find reference points. So in this case, I'm going to look and say, okay, I want this one to be pretty much in the exact corner. Alright, well, it won't let us put it there. So so we're going to say, it won't let us put us right in the corner, it looks like. Why? I don't know. There we go. There we go. So now we're lined up right on the edge. So I can come over on this one and do the same thing and say, okay, I want to make sure it's right on the edge. And then a little bit up. So, and then this one I might say, okay, well, we're going to line up then with this edge. And so we can line this one up with this edge. Not sure why it's not letting us attach. There we go. And then I don't really have a good reference point for this one in the center, so we're just going to eyeball, and I think that's actually pretty good center-wise. This one looks a little off to me. but you know, what can we do? I think what we're going to try to do, move this one up a little bit. There. I'm going to try and use this line here as a reference point for the tops of my landing gear. Now, using those same reference points, because our object's the same on either side, and we can't use our multiple snap tool there, this will allow us to get them about the same place over here. So, you know, if we zoom out, we can see that that one is right on the edge, though it looks a little high. Maybe not. Yeah, there we go. So, and then this one goes right on this edge and up, so we're just touching that there. And then this one goes, of course, in the middle. When you don't have a reference point, do the one that's in the middle last, because it's easier to eyeball between two objects than it is just to eyeball between these lines. Okay, and I just noticed something when I'm having trouble attaching that seems to be working. If I can't get it to attach, I don't know if you've seen me or noticed me dropping the part and picking it back up again. So let's see if this one's going to attach. Of course. So when I couldn't get it to attach and it was going, you know, no, I just dropped it down here, grabbed it, and then it let me attach it. So I think that might be a workaround for that bug. That one looks like it's just way too high. It's also good to look at these from different angles, because what looks like it lines up perfectly on one angle, you can sometimes notice doesn't line up very well on the others. I think that's good enough. I think that'll work fairly well. So why these landers? This will let us put something down here now. Because if we're resting on these legs instead of this flat bottom, we can put something underneath it to make sure we have our attachments. So now we can actually go under structures and we'll attach under structures, attach one of the girders onto it here. Light decoupler, will it won't attach there. Something like the octagonal strut. See, it's still not going to let us do that, but we can once again flip on. And because this piece is going to be solid, we don't have to worry about coming off, I know it's going to work well, and it'll still give us that attachment point here on the bottom. So, perfect. Alright, so now we have a place to attach our rocket to on the bottom. And we have, of course, already the place on top. So now we need some ore, metal, and rocket part storage on this. We're also going to need a way to attach our drill, someplace to attach a drill, something just here on the side, and our rocket part maker. I'm going to try to get that all into this piece, and I want someplace for our Kerbals to live. So I'm thinking we're going to build some wheels on this. We're going to try the wheels again, because if they break off, it's no big loss. We'll just count this as a permanent base. Same with these landers. Once we get it landed, if these landers break off, we're just going to count it as a permanent base, and we'll re-land when we need it to. These seem to work pretty well. These worked fairly well. Nice big wheels. So we are going to attach these hate trying to get things in the right position here. I don't know why it's trying to... there we are. Perfect. Now, that's what I was afraid of. Our wheels are going to get in the way of our land gears. That will probably work. That's a different wheel. So what I'm doing now is creating another reference point. What I'm going to try and do is line this wheel up the back fender with the edge here, and then I'm going to line this it's getting sticky on me again. There. With this front fender. There we go. And this will just help make sure that these legs are positioned about the same. Come on. Oh, we do expect some bugs like this because this game still is alpha, but it gets annoying quick when you're trying to attach a piece and it just does not want to snap on where you want it. And then to know we've got to do it twice more. Um, Alright, so good enough because I want to have to deal with that bug again. And we're going to do one more over here. And we should be good for wheels. And then we're going to pop out and test real quick just to make sure our landing gear doesn't interfere with our wheels and that our landing gear is low enough that it lifts the wheels off the ground so that it doesn't roll. We're going to name this our or plant base. Very original name. Alright, let's grab our control module so we can actually control this and just snap it on top here. And let's launch. Okay, as soon as this loads up, we're going to test our landing gear. We just want to actually make sure that it is able to lift and reach the ground. And get those tires up off the ground so this thing doesn't roll. Okay, there's our physics. We're lowering all our gear. Alright. Well, that kind of works. It lifts it up a little bit more than I would like. I really like these pads to be flat instead of on an angle. But I think I'm okay with it. I think this will work, and I think it'll work okay. See, I'd like it right about there. But I think that works well. I think this will work. Now, I did install HyperEdit. One of the things, and the reasons why, I do think HyperEdit is cheating, but I want to. It has the ability to refuel one of your resources. I'm not going to be using it to refuel any planes or change orbits or anything like that. The only thing I'm going to use it for is when I slap my ore pieces on here in just a moment. We are going to use it to make sure these landing legs can support the weight, just so I don't have to fly it all the way up to the moon and test to make sure that, you know, it's going to work before we launch it. Because it takes a long time to get up there. You know, we'll spend a whole episode getting this onto the mun, and it would be horrible to get it up there and then realize that once again things are just too heavy for it and it's not going to do what we want. So I want to be able to use HyperEdit to refuel those nodes or refuel those the resources so we can test that weight. Now, if you know of another way to test this without using HyperEdit, such as through the debug menu or something like that, please let me know because I really don't like having HyperEdit installed. At this point, I just see it as a necessary evil. So we're going to throw our canisters on there. I'm going to go with a metal, and I think I'm just going to go with one of each. Well, I've been doing two, and I don't know if that's where we're running into issues. I want to save the top here for some solar panels. So let's do one of metal, one of ore. Okay, and then we're going to do two of rocket parts. Since rocket parts basically what everything gets made into, I think we'll need more rocket parts than anything else, and that will let us store a bit more. And I like keeping it symmetrical again, more than just aesthetically pleasing. It flies better. So I'm going to lower these down. I'm going to put these right flat here. I'm going to do the same thing over here. It's almost like this was just made for these containers, huh? Right flat. And you need to be slid back. And we'll slide you forward. Perfect. One small, one large. Good enough. Good enough. Alright, so I'm going to do this on camera so you can see exactly what I'm using HyperEdit for. So we are out here right now. As soon as this gravity kicks in, physics kicks in, we're going to deploy our landing gear, and then I'm going to use HyperEdit to fill these containers and see what breaks. Now, these are actually going to weigh a lot more here than they are on the mun, so if we can get them to work here without breaking and snapping off, then we know it's going to support the weight. And if that's the case, then we know we can, use this as a tow vehicle and not have to do a permanent base. Because if we have to make it a permanent base, there's no reason to keep these wheels on here and things like that. So, you know, we can just throw it up on there and go without having to do the wheels and the docking ports and everything. All right, so I think we've got physics. We're going to deploy our landing gear. It's really tippy because we're not 100% perfect on it, and we're balancing on points instead of flat to the ground. But that's okay. So now we're going to bring up HyperEdit. And we want miscellaneous tools right here. So this refill resources button will fill all of this, and we're mostly interested in the metal, the ore, and the rocket parts. So when we do that, you can see how much it drops down, how heavy it gets. Now it looks like our landing gear is doing okay. Let's try picking our landing gear up. So we can see when our landing gear is up, it's just pretty too heavy for our tires. We're getting a lot of bounce. Does our landing gear have enough to lift it up? So I think this is going to work because we're only going to move this thing when it's empty anyway. Um, so I think this will work. I think our landing gear will be able to hold us up. Um, let's restart our flight and try one more time. End flight, restart flight. Just to make sure. But I think this landing gear is gonna work for us. So there's our gravity and physics kicking in. There's our landing gear down. Alright. Refill ship's resources. There's all the ore bopping on there. And it looks like it's holding pretty good. So I think this is gonna work. I think this will go well. So let's end our flight and pop back to the vehicle assembly building. Alright, so it looks like we have our basic ore place plant down. We can see that these landing gears should work. It should be mobile. So what we can do now is attach our drill, throw our solar panels on top here. We'll attach, I think, our living quarters to one side, and our rocket. I don't know. Maybe what we'll do is leave this as one module like we did before. We'll put docking clamps instead of just using Kerbal attachment system. We'll put a docking clamp here, and we'll clamp together using docking clamps instead. The problem there is making sure we have the right height. But because we can save this, we should be able to load it in and test our height and everything. Again, and we'll test it on the ground. So we're going to save it as is. We're going to grab this. We're going to tell it to save the sub. We're going to call it a rover, I guess. And we're just going to call this ore base save. Alright, well, it looks like we hit the a little over the half-hour mark here. So we're going to wrap up here. Like I said, we've got our ore base pretty much done, the basics of it. We'll work on the next two modules next time. We'll get our living quarters for the drill, and we'll get the rocket assembly plants for the drill. And then we may build a special cart to pull this. Once we got all the pieces built, then we'll work on launching them to the Mun. And then we'll go from there. So this has been Casper, and we'll see you next time. Make sure to have fun.